The 142nd edition of the Roy's Boys podcast starts right now.
Carolina basketball family is the strongest there's ever been, there ever will be.
Eight up freehand, King rights the ball. Pushes into Hubert Davis. 8 seconds. Davis trying to get free. Over to Fox. Fox, baseline. Up for the shot, good, off the glove. Oklahoma calls timeout, but the game is over. The game is over. Carolina has upset number 1 Oklahoma. Been ready on his second attempt. That one is no good. They battle for it. Loose ball. Recovered Marvin. He scores. With 20 seconds left to play, goes back to Michael Jordan. Jumper from out on the left. Good. 63, 62, 13, 12, 11. Georgetown with one timeout. Brent Brown looking. Throw away to Worthy. 35. The Tar Heels are going to win the national championship. Carolina with foul. He takes the timeout. Technical foul. Technical foul. Brown gets it into Williams. Here comes Williams front court. Williams on the drive. Gets it back out the head. Long outside shot. Short rebound. It's over. And how about the Tar Heels? They are the national champions. The Tar Heels are the national dadgum champions.
And that's what it takes when you big time games. You got to compete. You do it with your brain, and you got to do it with your heart too. And that's pretty doggone good.
From QCBroadcasting.com, this is the Roy's Boys podcast with your host, Josh Marlowe. Hey everybody, welcome into another edition of the Roy's Boys podcast. We are powered by Carolina Electrical Services, and for the first time, we have a trio on the podcast, myself, the regular co-host Anthony, and our newest member to the Heel Tough Blog writing team and the newest addition to the Roy's Boys podcast, Mark Creams is joining us. Fellas, how's it going?
Not bad, man. Can't argue with it.
I'm doing good. I just got off the course shooting 18, so ready to discuss basketball now.
That sounds good. Mark, what is your handicap, by the way? I meant to ask you that the other night.
All you need to know is I am not a good golfer. It's probably around the 10 range.
Okay, all right.
Neither is Phil Mickelson, though, so we can just let that one roll off. It's all good.
I'm a professional putt-putt specialist. That's where I tend to take my talents. I won the other day and shot a 43 on one of the toughest courses in the South.
Yeah,
So,
congratulations on embarrassing a group of 5-year-olds on a putt-putt golf.
it had to be done. I needed to boost the ego a little bit. And
How many putters did you break over your leg?
I did not break any putters.
Okay, so at least 1 or 2 went over the highway, like in Happy Gilmore, where you just flung it because you missed an easy putt.
One of the guys I was playing with actually did that, and the ball went up and almost hit like an 8-year-old kid in the top of the head, and we got some stern looks from some parents, but definitely worth it. But that's great, Mark. Glad you got off the course shooting 18. We just got done watching cars take left turns and throwing back some beer, so it's been a relaxing Sunday for all of us. Tonight's episode is going to be a lot of fun. I came up with the idea a while back that we're going to write an article of the underappreciated starting 5 in Carolina basketball history. I thought it'd be great to incorporate Anthony and you in it, and the article did very well on our website, got a lot of reads, and got a lot of reaction, a lot of interaction from our fans, so it was great. So, of course, we had to make this about a podcast, and because we were talking about this on the podcast, I had to confirm that this was a shower thought that came up one night in one of the showers. It didn't happen while I was on.
Nobody said that had to be said. You got to say it.
I just figured because I brought it up a few episodes ago that I have thoughts that happen when I'm either in the shower or on the toilet. They'd want to know which one this was. This was a shower thought.
So let me type in on my computer now. Mark as explicit podcast. Okay.
But
We appreciate you sharing that inside information, John.
yeah, so Mark, if I ever come up with a great idea, you know, I'll let you decide for yourself. Was I taking a shower or taking a crap? And then we can go from there. But
Hey, odds are 50-50.
they are, because I shower just as much as I do the other part. So anyway,
come on.
Hey, you wanted me to get a little bit more.
This is horrible. See, this is why the off season, dude. We need to get out of quarantine. This is unbelievable.
You wanted me to get a little bit more relaxed on the podcast. I'm more relaxed talking
We're
about
off the tracks. This was off the tracks was supposed to be the show that we did at the Carolina School of Broadcasting, not this podcast. Come on.
All right, we'll get back on focus. So a starting five with underappreciated Tar Heels, and initial thought, I thought, man, this won't be overly difficult. And then as we were going through, it became ever more challenging. Y'all two actually beat me to it, writing y'all's up before mine, which kind of made me feel pretty bad.
By like a week.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And y'all both did very good. And so we'll start with the point guard position. I'm going to lead the way as the host, and with this being my podcast, I make the rules. And you think Carolina basketball, the first thing you think of, extraordinary point guard play. So this, for me, was the toughest position I had to find who was my most underappreciated guy. I thought at first I was going to go Jimmy Black, but I was doing some more digging into the numbers, and I settled on Jeff Lebo. And this is a guy that was played from 1986 to 1989, posted double-figure scoring 3 of his 4 years, his best season as a junior at 12.2 points per game, and shot 46% from the floor, and landed on the All-ACC team that year. The reason why I kind of got stuck, or I chose him, was because the 80s just featured such great point guard play that I think he kind of got forgotten about with Jimmy Black on the title team. We all know Kenny the Jet Smith and the success he had at Carolina, and then of course in the NBA that Jeff Lebo was the transition between two of those, and you just kind of get forgotten about. And so that's why I went with him. He of course went on to have I'm not going to say a successful coaching career, but got into the coaching field.
Average.
It was average.
Coaching career.
And so, followed the footsteps of Dean Smith. My dad always called him a bald Dean Smith the way he looked on the sidelines. He was short and fat, like Dean was short and fat in the later parts of his career. So he does hold a school record for 17 assists against Chattanooga. And he, great player, often forgot about in the 80s at the point guard position. So Jeff Lebo gets the nod from me. Starting off my starting five.
Yeah, I was definitely considering Jeff Lebo, along with I think it's hard because you really go back through, and I mean point guard is one of those spots that's been recognized so much. So I mean, at first my list included guys like Melvin Scott, possibly. Those are the newer generation guys you can bring up because just everybody else that we've seen recently has really been decorated. But I went with a guy that played even before Jeff Lebo got on campus, and another guy that eventually became a head coach in George Karl. When he was on campus at Carolina, in his 3 seasons, he averaged 13.8 points per game, shot a sensational 51% from the field on his 964 career shot attempts, which is a really good number for a guard. Each year that he was on campus, he finished with at least 1.5 assists and increased his assists by 1.5, in each of his 3 seasons on campus. His best season, of course, was his senior year, where he led the Tar Heels in scoring with 17 points per game, and also averaged 5.8 assists per game. The thing about it was, he had a really, really strong career, but was only recognized for All-ACC honors once, which was, of course, his senior year. But a guy that I think really was transcended the point guard position at Carolina when, in the early days, what was the most successful position at Carolina? Center or power forward? It was inside where a lot of the guys have most of the success. So George Karl's one of those early point guards that I just feel like doesn't quite get the respect that he probably should.
And I landed on Ed Cota. I think mainly for him, I think a lot of people forget that he led Carolina to 3 Final Fours. As you guys have already said it, with Carolina being kind of known as point guard you would think a lot of ways that I could have went here. I think that with us being as known for point guard play as we are, a lot of the ones that have come through have gotten kind of the notoriety that they and appreciation that they have earned. So others I considered, one was Kendall Marshall. I would have loved to see him be at Carolina, obviously, a little bit longer. 2012, if he doesn't go down with the wrist injury against Creighton, the much-hated Creighton now for most Carolina fans. Who knows what happens there? But I also flirted a little bit with Jeff McGinnis. Ultimately, I landed again on Cota because mainly the 3 Final Fours, but just his overall ability to handle the ball, his court vision. He played a large role in feeding both Vince Carter and Antoine Jamison in their more than successful careers at Carolina. I believe that he ended up ranked third all-time as an NCAA assist leader. His stats there, he averaged 9.1 points, 7.5 assists, and 3.5 rebounds per game. So Ed Cota is my point guard.
All right. We'll move on to the shooting guard position. And a lot like the point guard, there was a lot of options to choose from. Originally, when I first sat down and started writing, I didn't think it was going to be that hard to find a guy, but I was proven wrong. And I went through a number of different people. You know, Donald Williams, Rashad McCants even got brought up despite the relationship he has with Carolina basketball. I took Dante Calabria, 4-year player at Carolina, was a starter his junior and senior seasons, and just a guy that, you know, his scoring increased the more he played, and just really was, you know, the testament of a 4-year guy that each year on campus he got better. As a junior, he 10.5 points per game while shooting 50% from behind the three-point line. That's absurd. His senior season averaged 12.7 points, and even though his three-point shooting percentage dropped, he still shot 40% from three. You can't argue with 40% from behind the three-point line. Earned a spot on the 1995-1996 All-ACC team, and was on the 1995 All-ACC Tournament Honors. And this was, you know, just another guy that was really proof that Dean Smith at that time could still coach. And for some reason, it was still being questioned that late in his career, was he still a great coach of guys that he could develop over a 4-year career, or was he just a guy that, you know, he had to have a lot of talent to win games? Dante Calabria was a guy that proved he may not have the talent, but with the right coaching and a little bit of work ethic, he can turn himself into a good quality ACC player, and that's exactly what he became in those 4 years in Chapel Hill.
He was hard for me not to go with Calabria there because he's one of my all-time favorite Tar Heels. Just a guy that really had a great work ethic, wasn't supposed to be a great player when he first came to campus, but eventually developed into a really important part of that team. And was just a deadly three-point shooter late in his career. Donald Williams got a lot of consideration there as well. I'm glad that you did mention Rashad McCants because that was a guy that I think just – with everything that's gone on, people have kind of forgotten how successful his career was. And unfortunately, you know, he has to be brought up here. But I went with Hubert Davis. And I know a lot of people will probably say, well, how do you think Hubert Davis is considered underrated? I mean, look, 4 years in a Tar Heel uniform, he shot 49.8% from the field, averaged 11.8 points per game, which is really not great numbers. But in his final 2 seasons on campus, he averaged 17.3 a game and shot 51.3% from the field while starting just 50 of the 68 games. So he was never even really a full-time starter in his time at Carolina. But even not being a full-time starter as a senior, he led the Tar Heels in scoring with 21.4 points per game, helping lead them to the Sweet 16, and also received second-team All-ACC honors that year. But that was the highest honor that he received in his time on campus. And this was a guy that, I mean, look, you average 20 points per game nowadays in college basketball. You're probably looking at possible All-American honors, especially when you play in the ACC. I just think that, you know, when you look at what he did, especially in those final 2 seasons, I just don't think he was recognized quite as much as he should have been by the NCAA or the ACC, and that's why he's here on this list. Hubert Davis is a guy that I think we all remember, but I also feel like maybe we remember him a little more as a coach instead of a player, which is wrong because he was a really special player.
Yeah, for the shooting guard, it was kind of challenging for me. I went back and forth between a few, kind of like you guys have said. A few of my other options included Jason Capel, Donald Williams, and then I even actually had Joseph Forte penciled in. When I kind of went back and looked a little bit closer at that, for a guy that was around, 2 years, and then there's some locker room chemistry issues, I just couldn't bring it to me to have him on the most underappreciated team. So with that, I landed on Shamond Williams. His accolades, certainly there's no shortage there. He was a 2-time NCAA All-Regional player, 2-time All-ACC, 2-time All-ACC tournament, actually an ACC tournament MVP. He, very similar to Dakota played a large role